Hangerback and the Elvish Visionary.
Ah, okay.
Possibly in order to play around a pump spell on the Warden or something.
Like
and
around
then, and then
an
Paul
Obzon
pumped his Warden, fought with the other Hangerback, and everything died. And Jahar is still left with 4 Doctor tokens. Paul just with a 1/1 Warden. And interestingly, Shahar doesn't have the 5th land for Wingmate Rock either, so both players sitting with the Rock in hand, with the ability to trigger Raid, but no 5th land yet.
Is this going to be the first one to get a Wingmate Rock down scenario? Shahar's going to play a Den Protector face down and pass the turn back to Paul. Does he find a land? No. Finds a Siege Rhino, though.
Siege Rhino is fine.
Hard to think that's a bad draw, but the Air Force is growing strong here for Shahar, and he's just one untapped land away from Wingmate Rock to finish this game off. I mean, look at Paul's life total. He's at 8.
Shahar also has Valorous Stance in hand. Now, this is a card that was declining in popularity. People were gravitating more towards Silk Wrap as their removal spell of choice in Standard, which may have been one of the reasons for the resurgence in Abzan, because Siege Rhino, well, is not answerable with Silk Wrap. But yeah, some Valorous Stance. Shahar has 2 in his sideboard. He brought them in. It's the perfect card for this situation.
By the way, Shahar did find a land for him.
Yeah, so now he's in a luxury position. He can choose to either just attack with his creatures and play a rated Wingmate Rock, or I guess Valorous Stance the Siege Rhino. Nah. Paul's already down to 7.
Yeah, this
clearly missing land drops.
Dead next turn.
Just put him dead next turn. Char's still at 15, so no danger of dying. And you can play the Valorous Stance on the next turn. Yeah, I like Shahar's play here.
I like it too. This looks good. Yeah, and it's good enough to win him the game as well. So that's going to be game 2 in the books. This one goes to Shahar, who does get that Wingmate Rock down a turn ahead of Paul Dean. And Paul's going to scoop him up. Some smiles after that, but we're heading for a game 3. Let's check in on our back table here, where we still have John Stern and Paulo. Vitor Damaderosa, though, from the looks of things, they are in game 3 here, Frank. So this is Pilgrimage on the stack here for Stern. Ramping. And a nice start from Paulo on the other side of the table here, with a Jace Vryn's Prodigy kind of going to work on the loot. And it looks like he's got a Soulfire Grandmaster set up as well.
I already see an Ulamog in John Stern's hand. He just needs, 5 more lands. That is what this deck is easily capable of presenting, so I'm looking forward to seeing that Ulamog come down.
I am too. TikTok.
Oh yeah.
Who invited that guy?
I think their team already had this deck for the Pro Tour, but they chickened out and didn't want to play it because they were expecting a lot of Atarka red decks. Like this Ram deck is way too slow against a deck that can kill you on turn 3 even. But they did choose it for this GP, and it is a deck that can go over the top of some of the mid-range strategies. It may have a good matchup against Jeskai.
And this is interesting. Paulo's going to use Disdainful Stroke on Explosive Vegetation. He wants to cut the mana flow off at the source rather than wait for the big payoffs. And, of course, you get punished if you wait for Ulamog.
Exactly, because you can counter the Ulamog, but you cannot stop the trigger.
Right.
So besides, Paulo had mana up anyway, so you might as well cast it there and stunt John's development. And there's Faladar Cup again, the all-star after sideboard. Strictly worse than Soulfire Grandmaster, strictly worse than Seeker of the Way.
Putting in work.
Yeah. It's gonna attack for 2.
It will.
There it comes.
Oh, he discarded it. How
come on.
dare he?
You'd better get it back with Ochitais, come on.
That could be part of the plan here. Now, does he have access to red mana currently?
He does not. That's 2 Sunken Hollows and 2 planes.
So the
mismatched planes, I should say.
You should note that. Yeah, well spoken. So he's got 2 Kolaghan's commands, an Ojutai's command, and a Manus Rider in his hand. So he just has 1 live card.
awkward.
Yeah.
And
We're not used to seeing it like this, Frank. Usually,
and still he chose to discard a Felidor Cup. He
a
has no
castable
respect
spell?
for that card at
No,
all.
he does not. He'd rather keep the second Kolakon's command. So we'll see if Paulo can find some red mana and make this thing into a game.
Well, Paulo has Ochitai's command to draw some cards, get closer to the red mana. He may also want to save the Ochitai's command. Alright. In order to counter something like a Dragon Lord of Tarka from John's turn. But I guess John's turn doesn't have all that many creatures that he would play on the next turn with 6 mana. So it makes sense to already just draw the card, get Jace in there. Jace is even better at digging you towards the red mana that you need. And you do it main phase because if you're going to do it anyway, you might draw a red source or like a Jeskai Tri-land, for instance, and you want to be able to play that immediately.
Now, what he did draw was Wild Slash. Kind of the insult draw for Paulo. But it does mean he's one step closer potentially to finding that red mana.
Yeah, that card doesn't do that much in a matchup. I guess it kills Nissa, Vastwood Seer, but that's probably it.
Yeah, and it's also red, so
Yeah.
that's the last thing on his list.
Yeah, there are just a lot of cards in the Jeskai deck that don't match up all that well against the Ram deck.
Which is, I think, why we saw the Felidar Cup. I do think
Yeah.
that he was like, we're turning this guy sideways.
Mm.
Plan A. All right, now what is John Stern up to? Another copy of Explosive Vegetation. So now he's at 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 mana.
Hello.
Oh.
It's Ulamog time. And still no red source for Paulo here.
Oh, oh boy, the clock is really ticking here now. Now he does have a Jace active there. Is he going to be able to leverage that to help him find the red mana? I mean, we know that he's got an Ojutai's command in his yard, for example.
Yeah, well, Paulo doesn't have a way to stop the Ulamog from resolving the next turn yet, I don't think. Because he used the Ojutai's command already.
Let's just hang out here for a minute. Our main match did just start, but I got to see because he just found red mana.
All right,
But
yeah.
it's tapped.
Could be a game. The
Mystic Monastery.
way he can beat the Ulamog that is likely gonna come down on the next turn is by drawing and playing Crackling Doom. That's a clean answer to Ulamog. It will be really hard to beat it in a damage race because Ulamog comes down, exiles 2 permanents, then starts attacking for a lot of damage, and these Mantis Riders may come down and pressure John's turn, but I'm not sure that can win in a race against Ulamog. So probably Paulo has to find the Crackling Doom and quickly.
A little awkward there for Paulo as well. By activating his Jace, it
Yeah.
did turn over. He had to just spin it right away. He's going to keep the one at 6 here, but yeah, it's a little annoying.
It is, but he really wanted to draw the additional cards in order to get closer to the red mana.
And here it is, Ojutai's command. He's going to get that Jace back again, just sort of cycling through this poor Jace. Can't decide where it wants to live.
It's not super efficient, but it does draw him a bunch of cards, getting him closer to the Crackling Doom that he's likely going to need in order to survive.
All right, so I got to see this. Are we going to see an Ulamog here? It's up to John Stern. If we see an Ulamog here, we'll watch it, and then we'll run back over to our main match because we don't want to catch the end of that. But I had to see.
It will come down on this turn. You have 10 mana.
Yeah.
You can play it. You put the card in your deck to play it when you hit 10 mana.
What if he just played like Explosive Vegetation, Nissa's Pilgrimage? Would you be mad at him?
I would be mad.
I would too. All right, here he goes. 8, 10. Do it, John Stern. Who's hungry?
Hello?
We have a dinner guest. So his ability goes on the stack.
It's actually a close call what you want to exile, because the Mystic Monastery might be a nice target, because John must have also realized that Paulo was missing red mana for a large part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really care too much about the Soulfire Grandmaster, maybe the Jaces, but yeah, Paulo has multiples. Alright, what Johnston goes for is the mana denial plan. He takes out the red land, as well as the Jace that would give Paulo the opportunity to draw a card towards the red mana, because John is probably also afraid of the Crackling Doom that I mentioned. He doesn't want to lose his Ulamog.
Paulo did find a polluted delta here. So I'm assuming he can go get a Smoldering Marsh that comes into play untapped, and he could be set to go. All right, well, we'll let this one play out. Let's jump over to our main match. I don't want to miss the end of that. Well, we can jump over here if this one's still going as well. But as you can see, we're kind of in the middle part of the game here on Shahar Shenhar versus Paul Dean.
All right.
Who's got a Gideon friend, and an Anafenza facing down. Well, not that impressive of a board here, really. Hangerback Walker plus Anissa. Nothing too crazy there for Shahar.
So far, it looks like Paul Dean's board is a little better because he has the Planeswalker generating value. He has Anafenza, which is both a relevant threat, and it answers the Hangerback Walker. Shahar only has a 1/1 and a 2/2, so low creature size. No 7th land in sight yet for the Nissa to transform. So Paul Dean looks to be ahead in this game. Shahar may have had a bit of a slow draw, but he does have 2 copies of Search of Righteousness in his hand, which allow him to take out the Anafenza and possibly come back into this game.
Thanks to that black mana symbol there.
It is a black creature. Yeah, Search takes out Anafenza, Siege Rhino. That's pretty much it in the matchup, but those are creatures that you want to kill. So
yeah.
Makes sense to add those.
Search seems well placed right now for sure.
But Paul still has a lot of gas in hand. He can also activate Gideon, add some additional cards to the board. I do see the Virulent Plague
right on the
there.
bottom.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, Paul's not messing around.
The interesting thing of Virulent Plague is that, well, Paul boarded it in, but if he would draw it here, it would just actually hamper his own development because, well, the only creature on the board, or the creature token on the board, are his. And Virulent Plague gives -2/-2 to each creature token. Doesn't matter on which side of the board they are. So what does Shahar have to work with? I see a planar outburst that will allow him to sweep the board, but then there's still a Gideon remaining, so maybe not the perfect time for that yet. Shahar also has a Gideon of his own, so that could work out nicely, especially with the planar outburst that he still has in hand. So I could see a sequence where Shahar on this turn blocks some of Paul Dean's creatures in order to protect his own Gideon. And then on the next turn, Shahar plays Planar Outburst, clears all the blockers that Paul Dean has lined up, and then activates his own Gideon, ticks it up into a creature, and attacks the Gideon of Paul Dean to take it out. And that could be a sequence where if Shahar manages to pull that off successfully, he can swing the game around and come out in a commanding board position.
Now, does this change anything about that? So Paul flipped up his Den Protector, got back on Anafenza, also drew on Anafenza for the turn. Does that change anything here?
Not yet. What it does mean is that if Shahar goes for the Planar Outburst play, that he will not get any Doctor tokens from the Hangerback Walker.
You see what Paul just did?
He
made an emblem. Yeah, so he says, yeah, you know, I'm not going to let you attack my Gideon at any point here. I'm just going to kill it.
The key thing is that now the Den Protector is 4 power. Shahar cannot block it, and the Den Protector can take out the Gideon. Without the emblem, Paul Dean would not have been able to take out the Gideon. So that's a huge play.
That was sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, it did cost him his Gideon, but he's the one with the emblem. and Shahar's going to have no Gideon at all.
Yeah, and Paul Dean may not know this, but if he wouldn't have made this play, then with the sweeper that Shahar has in hand, Paul would have lost his Gideon on the next turn otherwise. So this is a great play for Paul. Yeah, now Shahar is a bit on the back foot, really. I guess Shahar is going to lose the Gideon, assuming that the Den Protector is attacking Gideon, which I'm pretty sure it is. So the tokens are going to Shahar's life total almost certainly. What Shahar may want to do in this game is to, next turn, kill Anafenza with the Search of Righteousness, leave his Hangerback Walker around, and then on turn 7, you transform Nissa into a Planeswalker, sweep the board with Planar Outburst, So you leave a Planeswalker, you still keep the tokens from Hangerback Walker because you just killed Anafenza, and that is a sequence where you end up in a great position.
Where you've got a Planeswalker
Yeah.
and some tokens, your opponent has hopefully nothing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, Shahar makes some big blocks here, as you predicted there. Gideon hits the bin.
Well, maybe Shahar values his life total a bit more than what I suggested. The line that I suggested would involve Shahar taking a bunch of damage from Paul Dean's creatures. At least this way Shahar stays at a healthy 14 life. Maybe without a transformed Nissa or some tokens from Hangerback Walker, but at least you clean up the board, and that's fine too.
Yeah, this is a straightforward line here where, I mean, it's interesting because, we did see Shahar in the first game take a line that was a little bit higher risk but with a big payoff.
Mm-hmm.
And this time we see him take the more conservative approach rather than, risking a bunch of his life total to try to be a bit ahead on board when he fires off the outburst. It's interesting to see how the players navigate those type of decisions.
Indeed.
Risk management. That's what it's all about, Frank. Yep.
And Shahar still has the Lumbering Falls, the creature land in play. So even if the board is empty, Shahar is a bit ahead because he has a threat on the table.
Yeah, he's going to need to find a blue mana source for it, but I see he's got a Blighted Woodland there. So
He also already has Prairie Stream
Oh,
on
he
the table,
does have
so
Prairie
he
Stream.
can activate it if
Thank
he wants
you.
to.
I missed that. My
Yeah.
apologies. Yeah, so that's nice. Now, in the meantime, he does have to deal with this on Offenza, but we saw that he's got a Surge of Righteousness in hand to do that.
Mhm. You could even attack with the Lumbering Falls, and then if Paul attacks, you just Surge down Offenza then. But that probably just reveals your hand, shows what you're up to.
All right, so that was Abzan Charm on Ensep. That could be huge for Paul Dean here.
Mhm.
As we have kind of entered the attrition phase of this match, and
And he found
what did he
both
find?
a Den Protector and a Warden of the First Tree with it.
Goodness sakes.
That's great. So yeah, now Den Protector will come down, get unmorphed, get back. I think there is already a Den Protector in Paul Dean's graveyard, so
You
he
are
can set up
correct.
the Den Protector chains.
He can indeed. Then he can get an Abzan Charm or an Offenza. Uh-oh.
Mhm.
This could get out of hand pretty quickly here for Paul Dean. I mean, players are relatively evened up here on life total, but Paul is pulling ahead on cards quite quickly on a board that's pretty desolate at this point.
Absolutely.
Remember, there's an emblem over there as well for Paul, so even those small things add up too. And
Yep.
I think Paul's really in good shape here.
Yeah, Shahar has 2 enchantments, which can answer some of the creatures, but Paul still has a Dramoka's Command in hand, which can answer at least one of those. And the enchantments don't really stop the Den Protector chain all that well anyway. Paul is still gonna get a bunch of additional cards from those. Plus the Warden of the First Tree just threatens to take over the game if it goes long. What Shahar may be hoping to draw here is, well, either a Nissa, Frostwood Seer, which he can transform into a Planeswalker and then get some card advantage. Maybe a Den Protector of his own if he boarded one in. Possibly secure the waste to make a bunch of tokens. But he doesn't have a lot of time, and he does need to draw some cards that gives him some card advantage against the threats that Paul Dean will be putting out over the course of the next few turns.
And it looks like Dromoka's Command just sort of preemptively took out that Silk Wrap. That's also going to put a counter on.
Mhm. Yeah, and this is, well, an interesting rules interaction. If you played Ramoka's Command in response to the Silk Wrap trigger, then Silk Wrap already leaves the battlefield before the trigger resolves, and then the creature doesn't really get exiled at all, ever. So that's why the +1/+1 counter from the Ramoka's Command stays on the Den Protector.
All right, well, this Den Protector was trying to attack for 5, but instead it's going to get Stasis snared here by Shahar. But that is his last card in hand, so it's kind of, he's left with the top of his deck plus a Lumbering Falls here. Oh, cancel that order. Same interaction here, Frank.
Yep.
Jeez.
Yeah, so the Den
6
Protector
now?
is still getting in. It never essentially got exiled because the Stasis Snare already left the battlefield before its ability resolved.
Wow, Paul Dean is just going to work here.
Yeah, this is lethal on the next turn. Shahar has
Yeah.
one draw step. Whoa,
Ooh.
that
Uh-oh.
works.
Let's see if this keeps him alive. That was a Nissa.
Nissa, that's good. I'm not sure it'll be good enough against all the threats that Paul Dean is putting on the table.
That was a
But-
nice sequence, though, for Shahar.
Oh, yes.
Elvish Visionary to chump block the Knight token,
Mhm.
and then Nissa. He's going to take a hit here, but he gets to transform Nissa and maybe find something to stay alive. But that Den Protector is a major issue here, as Shahar just can't block it.
Mhm. Like, Shahar maybe wants to take up the Nissa, but does he face lethal then? Let's see. If he finds a land or something on top, if he chump blocks the Gideon with Elvish Visionary, then Den Protector and the token are gonna get in.
For
And,
lethal.
and due to the emblem,
It's
that's
lethal.
exactly 9.
Yeah, it's 9 exactly. So
But if you tick down and make the 4/4, that also doesn't really help you all that much. The
No.
4/4 doesn't profitably block the Gideon, cannot even block the Den Protector. You have to maybe just tick up and hope to draw Stasis Snare or Silk Wrap or some answer, or maybe a Gideon of your own. 'Cause,
yeah, this Den Protector's such a huge problem right now. Well, he just does decide to make a 4/4 here, Frank. Passes the turn back to Paul. But again, the Den Protector's getting through either way. Jeez, another Den Protector off the top. Yeah, Paul, take a look at your graveyard. That has now become your personal playground of different tools that you can use to win this game.
So is that lethal? Den Protector, unmorph it, get back Dramoka's command, take out a blocker, and then it's the
Yeah.
attack for 9 that will finish the game if Paul
Yes.
sees that line.
Wow. Paul Dean, ever since he played that command, he's just
Mhm.
sort of taken over. I mean, he's hit.
The Absent Charm. you mean. Yeah.
Sorry, not command. The Abzan Charm, exactly.
Yeah, it was kind of an even game, and then if the game is even and you draw 2 cards, and some of the cards that you draw are 2-for-1s as well, it snowballs out of control pretty quickly. And Shahar doesn't really have many ways to melt that snowball. I think the key play in this game was going back to the turn where Shahar played the planar outburst and essentially gave up his Hangerback Walker and Nissa in the process. Shahar could have taken a bunch more damage, wait an additional turn, and then play planar outburst at a point where he could have flipped his Nissa and possibly gotten some tokens from the Hangerback Walker as well. That would have put Shahar down to a low life total, which is always dangerous against a deck with Siege Rhino. But as the game turned out, maybe that line would have been better for him. But always a close call how to approach those situations. Shahar just thinning the deck with a fetch land before taking up Nissa and then hopefully drawing. Yeah, what can he really draw here? Secure the Ways doesn't do it against the Den Protector. Planar Outburst
He needs some. I mean,
doesn't even work against the Gideon that will stick around.
right.
Den Protector might do something.
Now, Paul did not go for the kill there, right? So this is an opening that Shahar Shenhar maybe wasn't even going to get.
Correct,
And
I
he's going
believe.
to try to maximize on this, but it does feel like Paul is so far ahead right now.
Quarantine Field is a card that Shahar could have top decked here to really swing the tide of the game, but
He could have exiled 3 permanents.
even more. But yeah, Den Protector. What can you really get back?
4 permanents? My goodness.
You have to answer the
Yeah.
Den Protector somehow, because that will just attack for lethal.
He's attacking?
Maybe he's planning to get back Wingmate Rock from his graveyard. But if he does that, he still dies to the Den Protector.
Right. None of Shahar's creatures are natively big enough to get in the way. Interestingly, it looks like Paul blocked. Oh, he didn't
Might.
realize what the token was exactly, but he does chump block with an ally and eat up the Visionary. it's all about that den protector. 6 power.
Yeah.
How's he going to get something down? Yeah, that's fine. Oh, is that planar outburst? That doesn't do it either. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
he-
Like if he gets an answer for the den protector, then he is losing to all the creatures that Paul Dean can attack with. If he gets the planar outburst, Gideon sticks around and attacks. I don't think there was any way for Shahar to pick a card with den protector and survive for another turn.
No, I think
Paul Dean
you're
was
right.
just too far ahead.
I think he was just way, way, way too far ahead there.
Yeah.
And it looks like the players are just wrapping up here as they talk about, well, I could have done this, or if you would have done that, I could have done this, and, you know, normal post-match chatter.
Yep. But nice to see Paul Dean continuing his run with the Absent deck now on his home country turf.
He does look comfortable with the deck. He could have been one of those people that picked up the deck a while ago and has kind of been with it as it's, changed the way that its composition and such, but you do get used to a certain strategy and a certain approach.